She told me, "Stop making a big deal. He only calls me princess as a joke." I said, "Adorable." Later, when she introduced me to him at a party, I showed him the text where she called him her backup plan. He left. So did I? Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I've always been the type of guy who believes that trust is a binary concept. You either have it or you don't. There is no middle ground, no trust, but verify. When I started dating Maya, I gave her that trust completely. We had been together for 2 years. On paper, everything was perfect. We had similar career goals, we made each other laugh, and we had just started talking about moving into a bigger place together. But for the last 6 months, there had been a third person in our relationship. He wasn't in our bed, and technically, he wasn't with her, but his presence was suffocating. His name was Mark. Mark was a work friend from her previous job. He was the guy who always commented on her Instagram posts within 30 seconds of them going live. He was the guy who sent her "good morning" texts that straddled the line between friendly and intimate. And, most annoyingly, he was the guy who called her princess. I tried to be the cool, modern boyfriend. I didn't want to be the jealous, controlling partner who forbids his girlfriend from having male friends. I swallowed my annoyance when he sent her flowers for her birthday with a card that said, "For the girl who deserves the world." I bit my tongue when he Venmo'd her money for coffee with the caption, "Treat yourself, princess." But the breaking point came on a Tuesday night. We were sitting on the couch, watching a movie, when her phone lit up on the coffee table. "Mark, good night, princess. Dream of something sweet. Maybe me?" Winky face. I paused the movie. The silence in the room was heavy. "Maya," I said, keeping my voice level. "We need to talk about Mark." She let out a dramatic groan, rolling her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. "Oh my God, not this again. What did he do now? He just texted you good night, called you princess, and made a winking joke about dreaming of him. Come on, Maya. That's not respectful to me, and frankly, it's weird." She snatched her phone off the table and glared at me. "You are being so insecure right now. It is honestly exhausting." "It's not insecure to expect boundaries," I countered. "He's flirting with you. Openly." "He is not flirting," she snapped. "That's just how Mark is. He's goofy. He's like a brother to me. He calls everyone nicknames." "You're reading into it because you're looking for a reason to be jealous." "Does he call his male friends princess? Does he tell his sister to dream about him with a winky face?" She stood up, pacing the living room, effectively turning the situation around on me. "You're trying to control who I can talk to. It's toxic, okay? Mark has been there for me through some really hard times. He's a good friend. I'm not saying you can't have friends," I said, standing up to meet her eyeline. "I'm saying this guy clearly wants to be more than a friend, and you're allowing it because you like the attention." That was the wrong thing to say. Her face flushed red. "Stop making a big deal out of nothing," she shouted. "He only calls me princess as a joke. It's ironic. You just don't get our humor because you're too busy analyzing everything like a psycho." She took a breath and then delivered the ultimatum. "Look, Mark is having a birthday party this Saturday. I wasn't going to ask you to go because I knew you'd be weird about it, but now I think you have to go. You need to meet him properly, see us interact, and realize how stupid you're being. You need to apologize for acting like this." I stared at her. She wanted me to apologize? She wanted me to go to this guy's party, watch him fawn over her, and pretend I was okay with it to prove I wasn't toxic. "Fine," I said, my voice cold. "I'll go to the party." "Good," she huffed, grabbing her purse. "I'm going to my sister's for the night. I need space. Don't text me until you're ready to stop acting like a jealous teenager." She slammed the door. I stood there in the quiet apartment, feeling that unique mixture of anger and doubt. Was I crazy? Was I actually being insecure? For a moment, she almost had me convinced. Almost. 2 days later, Maya came back. She acted as if nothing had happened, sweet, affectionate, talking about our future. It was a strategy I'd seen before. Punish me with absence, then reward me with affection so I'd be afraid to rock the boat again. On Thursday evening, she was in the shower. I was sitting on the bed, reading a book, when she yelled out from the bathroom. "Babe, can you find that photo of us from the beach last summer? Sarah wants to see the swimsuit I was wearing. She wants to buy the same one." "Sure," I shouted back. "It's on my iPad. The passcode is your birthday." I picked up her iPad from the nightstand. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't looking for dirt. I genuinely just wanted to find the photo of the swimsuit to send to her sister, Sarah. I unlocked it and tapped on the Photos app. Because she had her Apple ecosystem synced, her iMessages were linked to the iPad. As I opened the Photos app, a banner notification dropped down from the top of the screen. Sarah, I don't know. Hearing him talk about it, don't you think you should just cut Mark off? It seems messy. My stomach dropped. I knew I shouldn't click it. I knew that whatever was behind that notification was going to hurt. But the princess argument was still ringing in my ears. He's like a brother. You're insecure. It's a joke. I tapped the banner. The message thread with Sarah opened up. I scrolled back just a few hours. They had been discussing our fight from Tuesday night. Maya, protagonist, is being so annoying about Mark again. He literally threw a fit because Mark called me princess. Sarah, to be fair, that is kind of cringe. Why does Mark do that? Maya, I don't know, it's his thing. It makes him feel like a big man, or whatever. It's harmless. Sarah, but you know Mark likes you, right? Like, he's clearly waiting for his turn. I held my breath as I read Maya's response. This was the moment of truth. This was where she would defend our relationship. This was where she would tell her sister that she loved me and that Mark was just a friend. Maya, LOL, obviously I know that. But I can't cut him off. He buys me stuff and boosts my ego when protagonist is being moody. Plus, let's be real. If protagonist ever messes up or we break up, Mark is a solid backup plan until I find someone better. He's pathetic and tries way too hard, but he's useful. Safe. I read it 3 times. A solid backup plan. Until I find someone better. Pathetic. Useful. It was a physical blow. I felt the air leave my lungs. All the time she called me insecure, all the time she told me I was crazy, she knew exactly what was happening. She wasn't naive. She wasn't just friendly. She was calculating. She didn't respect me. She saw me as the current option, liable to be replaced if I became moody, aka had boundaries. And Mark? She didn't respect him either. She was stringing him along, milking him for validation and gifts, laughing at his desperation behind his back. She called him pathetic. I looked at the bathroom door. I could hear the water running. I could hear her humming a song, completely oblivious to the fact that she had just nuked her entire life with a few bubbles of blue text. My first instinct was to storm into the bathroom and scream. I wanted to throw the iPad into the wall. I wanted to pack my bags right then and there. But then I remembered Saturday. I think you have to go. You need to meet him properly and realize how stupid you're being. A cold, terrifying calm washed over me. It was a sensation I had never felt before, the absolute absence of love. It was like a switch had been flipped. I didn't love her anymore. You can't love someone who views people as useful backup plans. I took my phone out of my pocket. I took a high-resolution photo of the conversation on the iPad screen, ensuring the timestamps and names were clear. Then I took a second photo, zooming in on the paragraph where she called Mark pathetic and a backup plan. I closed the Messages app. I found the photo of the swimsuit. I texted it to Sarah from Maya's iPad, adding a cheerful "here it is." I put the iPad back on the nightstand exactly how I found it. When Maya came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, smiling at me, I smiled back. "Did you send it?" she asked, drying her hair. "Yeah," I said. "Sent. Thanks, babe. You're the best." She leaned in to kiss me. I didn't pull away. I let her kiss me. But in my head, I was already gone. I was just counting down the hours until Saturday night. "I've been thinking about what you said." I lied, my voice steady. "You're right. I've been insecure. I really want to come to this party on Saturday and make things right with Mark." Her eyes lit up. She looked triumphant. "I knew you'd come around. It's going to be so much fun. You and Mark are going to get along great once you stop being so defensive." "Oh, I'm sure we will," I said. "I think Mark and I are going to have a lot to talk about." Saturday night arrived. I dressed carefully, a nice shirt, good jeans, the watch she hated because she said it looked too serious. I felt strange. Usually, going to a party where I felt uncomfortable meant a knot in my stomach. Tonight, I felt nothing but a chilling calm. I was walking into an ambush, but I was the only one wearing armor. Maya was vibrant, practically buzzing with nervous energy. She interpreted my calm demeanor as submission. In her mind, she had won. She had broken my insecure streak, and now I was going to play nice with her orbiter. You look hot, she said, kissing my cheek as we parked in front of a sprawling suburban house. Just relax tonight, okay? Mark is really excited to finally hang out with you properly. I'm excited too, I said. The party was already in full swing. The music was loud, the kitchen island was covered in liquor bottles, and about 30 people were milling around. We hadn't been inside for 5 minutes before Mark materialized. He was taller than me, with the kind of loud, salesman energy that takes up too much space in a room. He had a beer in one hand and immediately draped his other arm around Maya's shoulders, squeezing her tight. There she is, he boomed. He looked at me, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. And you brought the ball and chain. Good man. Glad you could make it out of the dungeon. It was a stupid, alpha-posturing joke. A week ago, it would have made my blood boil. Today, it just felt pathetic. Wouldn't miss it, I said, shaking his hand. His grip was unnecessarily tight. For the next hour, I watched a masterclass in disrespect. Maya was working the room, but she always drifted back to Mark's orbit. And Mark was peacocking hard. He was constantly touching the small of her back, whispering in her ear so she'd giggle, and making sure my glass was always empty while hers was full. Every time he did something boundary crossing, Maya would glance at me, checking to see if I was going to crack. I just smiled, sipped my water, and waited. The climax happened near the kitchen island. Someone was making a toast to Mark for his birthday. The room quieted down. Mark held up his glass, basking in the attention. He looked over at Maya, giving her a look that was entirely too intimate for a brotherly friend. Thanks everyone, Mark said. Then he winked at Maya. And thanks to my princess for organizing the booze run. You know I'd be lost without you, girl. A few people chuckled. Maya beamed, soaking it up. She shot a triumphant look my way. See, her eyes said. It's just a joke. You're okay with this. It was time. I set my water glass down on the counter with a quiet clink. I walked around the island, stepping into the center of the small circle, right next to Mark. Actually, Mark, I said, my voice clear enough to cut through the low chatter. Before we keep celebrating, I owe you an apology. The room went dead silent. Maya's smile froze. Mark looked confused, but pleased. Oh yeah. Mark puffed his chest out slightly. What for, man? I've been giving you a hard time about your friendship with Maya. I thought you were stepping on my toes, I said, maintaining perfect eye contact. I didn't realize the actual dynamic here. I didn't realize you were just the insurance policy. Mark's brow furrowed. The what? I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I had the photo of the text message queued up, brightness at 100%. I think you need to see this, I said, holding the screen directly in front of his face. It's a text Maya sent her sister on Thursday while I was in the other room. Read the second paragraph. The one about you. Mark looked at the phone. He squinted. Then his eyes widened. I watched the blood drain from his face. I watched the cocky, loud-mouthed salesman deflate in real time as he read the words. A solid backup plan. Pathetic. Useful. Maya rushed forward, grabbing my arm, her fingernails digging in. Protagonist, what are you doing? Stop it. You're making a scene. I shook her off gently. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on Mark. Mark finished reading. He looked up at Maya. The betrayal on his face was raw. This wasn't a guy who thought he was a friend. This was a guy who thought he was next in line, suddenly realizing he was just a joke she told to her sister. Pathetic. Mark's voice was a strangled whisper. He looked at her with pure venom. I'm useful. Mark, no, he's taking it out of context. Maya's voice was shrill, desperate. It was just girl talk. I was just venting because he was being annoying. Mark laughed, a harsh, barking sound. He shoved his half-full beer into Maya's hands, splashing it onto her dress. You're a bitch, Maya, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. An absolute manipulative bitch. Get out of my house. He turned and stormed out the back door into the yard. The silence in the kitchen was deafening. Every pair of eyes was glued to Maya, who stood there shaking, beer dripping down her expensive dress. She slowly turned to look at me. Her eyes were wide with terror and disbelief. The mask was completely gone. How could you? She whispered, her voice trembling. You ruined everything. I was just trying to. She couldn't even finish the lie. I looked at her one last time. I took in the ruined dress, the tear-streaked makeup, the utter lack of dignity. I felt a profound sense of release. Adorable, I said. I turned my back on her and walked out the front door, leaving her alone in a room full of people who now knew exactly who she was. I didn't speed on the way home. I drove the speed limit, windows down, letting the cool night air rush into the car. I felt lighter than I had in 6 months. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I felt like I had just surgically removed a tumor. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I had already blocked Maya's number, her Instagram, her Snapchat, and her email. We didn't live together, thank God, but she had a lot of stuff at my place: clothes, toiletries, books. When I got inside, I grabbed 2 black garbage bags and started tossing everything of hers I could find into them. It took 20 minutes to erase her physical presence from my apartment. I tied the bags off and left them by the front door. I dropped them at her sister's house tomorrow when I knew nobody would be home. Then, I turned off my phone, poured myself a whiskey, and slept like a baby. The fallout, as I heard later from mutual friends who were still speaking to me, was swift and brutal. Maya tried to get ahead of the narrative that night. She cried to anyone who would listen, spinning a story about how I was a psycho, paranoid, jealous boyfriend who invaded her privacy and humiliated her for no reason. She tried to paint me as an abuser who had isolated her and then attacked her support system. For about 24 hours, some people believed her. But Mark was not going down quietly. Mark was hurt. His ego had been shattered in front of 30 of his friends on his birthday. He wasn't going to let Maya play the victim. By Sunday afternoon, Mark had sent the screenshot of Maya's text, the one I had shown him, to their entire friend group chat. He captioned it, "This is what Princess actually thinks of her friends. Watch your backs." Seeing the words in black and white changed everything. It wasn't just that she was emotionally cheating on me. It was the cruelty with which she spoke about someone who did everything for her. Calling Mark pathetic while letting him buy her things turned everyone's stomach. The narrative flipped instantly. Maya wasn't a victim of a jealous boyfriend. She was a manipulator who got caught playing 2 guys against each other and lost both. Her social circle fractured. The girls who used to validate her behavior distanced themselves, not wanting to be associated with the drama. The guys, seeing how she treated Mark, stopped giving her the free attention she thrived on. I heard she was staying at her sister's, too embarrassed to show her face at her usual spots. For my part, I didn't engage. When mutual friends reached out to ask what happened, I gave them the simplest, most boring version of the truth. We had different values regarding respect in a relationship. It didn't work out. I didn't trash her. I didn't post sad song lyrics on my story. I just disappeared from her life completely. I focused on work. I started hitting the gym 5 days a week, channeling that lingering adrenaline into iron. I reconnected with friends I had neglected while trying to keep Maya happy. Weeks turned into a month. The silence from her end was profound. I knew it wouldn't last forever. People like Maya can't stand not having the last word, but I enjoyed the peace while I had it. I realized that the anxiety I used to feel, the constant low-level hum of suspicion, was gone. I wasn't insecure. My gut had been right the whole time. I was free, and I knew that eventually, desperation would set in, and she would try to crawl back. I was ready for it. 2 months passed. My life had settled into a rhythm that was boring in the best possible way. I went to work, I hit the gym, I cooked my own meals, and I slept in a bed that was exclusively mine. There was no drama, no walking on eggshells, no decoding passive-aggressive texts. I knew the silence wouldn't last forever. I knew Maya. She was the type of person who needed to control the ending. She couldn't live with the fact that I had walked away with the upper hand. It happened on a Tuesday night. Ironically, the same night of the week our relationship had imploded 2 months prior. I was walking out of the gym, bag slung over my shoulder, digging for my keys. It was drizzling, a cold, miserable rain that slicked the pavement. As I approached my car, a figure stepped out from the shadows of the neighboring vehicle. It was her. I almost didn't recognize her at first. The Maya I knew was always perfectly put together. Hair done, makeup flawless, clothes trendy. This woman looked tired. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun that didn't look intentional. She was wearing a baggy hoodie and no makeup. She looked smaller, dimmer, as if someone had turned down the saturation on her existence. "Protagonist," she said. Her voice was thin, shaky. I stopped, my hand tightening on my keys. I didn't feel the surge of anger I expected. I didn't feel the pang of longing I feared. I just felt annoyed, like I had stepped in a puddle. Maya, I said, keeping my distance. What do you want? I've been trying to call you, she said, wrapping her arms around herself against the cold. You blocked me. That's generally how breakups work, I said. I'm heading home. I moved to unlock my door, but she stepped in front of it. Please, she begged, her eyes filling with tears. Just give me 5 minutes. You owe me that much after 2 years. I don't owe you anything, I said calmly. But go ahead. You have 2 minutes. Talk. She took a shaky breath. I know I messed up. I know the text looked bad, but you have to understand context. Mark was obsessed with me. He was creepy. I was scared to cut him off because he was so intense. I only wrote that stuff to Sarah to make it sound like I was the one in control, so she wouldn't worry about me. I was just venting. It was a masterclass in rewriting history. In her version, Mark wasn't her brotherly friend or her backup plan. Suddenly, he was a stalker she was bravely managing. So, I said, my voice dry. You called him princess and accepted his gifts and used him for validation because you were protecting yourself. I was confused, she cried, stepping closer. I needed attention because you were so distant. If you had just been more supportive, I wouldn't have needed him. We can fix this. I miss you. I miss my best friend. I've cut Mark off completely, obviously. It's just us now. She reached out to touch my arm. I took a step back, and her hand fell into empty space. When she realized the tears weren't working, the shift happened. The sadness evaporated, replaced by a flash of the entitlement I remembered so well. You know, you didn't have to do that at the party, she snapped, her voice hardening. You humiliated me. You ruined my reputation. People are saying awful things about me because of you. It was cruel. You're supposed to be the nice guy. I was the nice guy. I corrected her. And you treated the nice guy like a placeholder. I made a mistake, she shouted, her voice echoing in the empty parking lot. One mistake, and you nuked our entire life. Don't you think that's a little bit of an overreaction? Don't you think you're being a little bit dramatic? There it was. Even at rock bottom, standing in the rain, she was still trying to gaslight me. She was still trying to convince me that my reaction to her betrayal was the real problem. I looked at her, really looked at her. For 2 years, I had thought she was the prize. I had thought I was lucky to have her. I had put up with the orbiters, the disrespect, and the jokes because I was afraid of losing her. But standing there under the flickering parking lot light, I realized the truth. She wasn't a prize. She was a liability. She was a bad investment of time, energy, and emotion. I checked my watch. Time's up. That's it, she scoffed, crossing her arms. You're just going to walk away? You think you're better than me? I don't think I'm better than you, Maya, I said. My voice was low, steady, and devoid of any emotion. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was just stating facts. I just think I'm finished. You'll regret this, she sneered, though I could hear the desperation creeping back in. You're going to be alone, and you're going to realize that nobody else is going to put up with your insecurities. I laughed, a genuine, short laugh. See, that's the thing, I said. I wasn't insecure. I was observant, and you proved me right. I unlocked the car door. She didn't move, blocking my path to the handle. Maya, I said, looking her dead in the eye. You played a game. You wanted a roster. You wanted the boyfriend at home and the fan club on the side. You wanted the safety of me and the ego boost of him. She opened her mouth to interrupt, but I held up a hand. But you overplayed your hand. You didn't respect the starter, and you didn't respect the bench warmer. So now, I gestured to the empty, rainy parking lot around us. Now the bench is empty. The stadium is closed. And you're the only one left in the game. Her face crumbled. The anger vanished, leaving only a hollow realization. She looked around, as if suddenly aware of how cold and alone she actually was. I can change, she whispered. It was barely audible. I know, I said, but you'll have to do it for someone else. You're not my problem anymore. I gently moved past her, opened the car door, and got in. I shut the door, sealing out the cold and the damp. She stood by the window for a second, looking like a ghost. She raised a hand, maybe to knock on the glass, maybe to wave goodbye. I didn't wait to find out. I put the car in reverse, backed out, and drove away. I checked the rearview mirror once. She was just a small, dark shape standing alone under the street lamp, shrinking with every yard I put between us. I turned on the radio. A song I didn't know was playing, something upbeat and loud. I turned it up. I thought about the future. I thought about meeting someone who didn't need a backup plan. I thought about a life where trust wasn't a joke. I drove home, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't look back. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the